Good morning from chilly Buffalo. I'm Mike Shope. Our heroes, Pat Corain in San Diego, Davis Maddock in St. Louis, Jacob Sanderson in Vancouver. Got the map covered. Will join me in a few moments. We've got risers and fallers. We've got the Beatles. We've got running backs, those icky running backs. The panel may disagree in that 8, 9, 10 round range. We'll break that down. And a new season-long game debuts today. We have to figure out how it works, but we will do that on the fly here as we go. ADP Chasing, Mike, Pat, Davis, Jacob, March 25th, 2025.
In Underdog Best Ball, ADP is set by two separate yet equally important groups. Streamers that set the market and the slappies that chase it. These are their stories.
Still slaps. Is
Still
that what I want?
Still slaps.
Quite good. Quite good.
First, a tweet that caught my attention yesterday from Jacob, who asks in a very, polite way. We have it to share, to show everybody. Do you like the Beatles? It's a question.
This is a very popular trait that people have now, where something is obviously good or obviously important. And people are like, actually, this stinks.
This all emanated from. I was in a group. I'm in this group chat where we're talking like football 24/7, basically, and one of the dudes, the Patriots fan, and he was arguing that their offensive line has improved versus last year, which is like one of the funniest things.
Oh, buddy,
yes, true, but like
it is true, but like
mostly
end?
meaningless.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so another dude comes in and he's like, you got to admit it's getting better. It can't get much worse. And the guy's like, what is this a reference to? He's like, it's a Beatles song. And then we go in this big debate. And there's like 6 people in this group chat who are like, the Beatles suck. I never listened to them. They're horrible. And honestly, it shattered my like foundation of humanity. So I think Twitter was with me. I think it was close to 70% in favor of the Beatles. Andrew in the group chat firmly in the 30%.
So wait, so you think
I'm pro Beatles? I think the Beatles rock.
Do you like the Beatles though? Is an interesting way to phrase this question, because I think are the Beatles good is an obvious yes.
But I'm not interested in that question. I'm interested in like, are you actively participating in the celebration of a seminal musical artist?
Do I have to put them on like in my free time? Is that a thing I have to do to participate?
Well, I mean, you don't have to. I'm not holding a gun to your head, but if you don't, then I
do you ever you're in your car? Do you ever put on a Beatles song?
Yeah,
I would like time to put on Revolver and like vibe.
Yeah, and that's the one that I listen to the most. Probably is Revolver.
I
would put on a Beatles song from time to time. Yes, but I wouldn't.
Here we go.
Of course, I've seen them live 4 times, so it's nostalgic for me. No, of course. It's always 2 different questions. I could probably think of a terrible movie that most Rotten Tomatoes, Siskel and Ebert, whatever, would probably consider terrible, but I like it. Food.
What was it like when they came over to America?
It was incredible. You really had to be there. Shea Stadium, 1965. I mean, I was there with my kids, and that was really a very special night.
I mean, so, to be fair, people will say things. I mean, we literally have a hot take artist in the chat. Their music.
We have one on the show, Davis.
I'm trying to give a reasonable take, which it's like if we were sitting around and you put on like this is the Beatles Spotify playlist, I'd be like,
I mean, the thing is it's just the reason why it's undeniably good music is that all the music you like, name your favorite person,
right?
You could trace it back. You'd be like, oh, this your favorite album of all time. The first time these notes were ever played sequentially was on this Beatles album. or whatever.
100%. But you could trace their music back to some like pipe in like 9,000 BC.
Well, no, you trace their music back to they stole it.
Mostly black.
Yeah, well,
mostly black people.
You want the Stones? The Stones are even better for that. Go back to the Deep South.
Zeppelin. I mean, Zeppelin songs are just like literal. Like that's the same song, man.
Yeah.
You can still love it.
The song remains the same.
Literally the name. That's good. Here we go.
Yeah.
I think
hang on. Let me ask this: Rolling Stones or Beatles?
Beatles.
I'm going Beatles.
That's what I listened to growing up. Like, I think it depends on what your parents, or in Shope's case, who you saw first.
Yes.
Here, whatever you got exposed to. My parents were Beatles people. Not that I have anything against the Stones, but
yeah, we were a big Bill Haley in the Comets family.
My dad literally did Beatles for breakfast, where like from the age of 5, I listened to one Beatles song per day at 8 a.m. before I went to school, and then we just went through the entire catalog.
I recommend that. If you don't know your Beatles, it's worth trying on. Legendary stuff, so I recommend it. You don't have to have seen them in concert at a long, dilapidated or destroyed. Okay. I think, would you guys join me in elevating Zach Lenars to hero status for the work
he's doing?
Yes, of course.
Oh
yes.
my God. It's getting unreal.
Undoubted hero. Yeah.
I don't speak Pokemon, but I still love what he's come up with for today.
Boy, do Corain and I speak Pokemon.
I know.
We have spoken Pokemon.
All I will say about this is, that it's amazing, but I would watch a show.
Be Mike in the bottom right.
Yes, it's my YT face.
I like how you're not thrown by this child that is you.
You know what? Okay, so like I actually have it's happened a weird amount of times that there's been like animated graphic images of my face. There's at least 2 of them online, and they all make me look 8 years old. Like anytime anyone makes any sort of cartoon version of me, I like 8. I'm not thrown by that at all. Actually, that's the most realistic one that's ever been done.
I feel like mine would look kind of cool, but then you look at Davis and he's like clearly younger. You look like my younger brother. And then I'm like, then you look back at me and you're like,
kind of how I think of you, Davis, as Pat's younger brother.
Crane, your hair is not. If I did want to criticize, Crane's hair is not near tall enough.
Yeah, I should have gotten some spikes. That would have been a good Pokemon look.
At least it is already poking into your square. But
True.
I would watch this show with these characters. I think Pat and Davis have been a team for a while. They're fighting. Maybe they're teenagers. They're fighting crime. They're doing amazing things. They bring Jacob in. The series goes a couple of years. We kind of just did this in our show in real life. We bring Jacob in. He's sort of the new partner. And he's learning, he's learning on the fly. He's on the streets, just sort of getting through it. And I don't know what
youthful optimism. Look at those eyes.
Yes. And the team needed that. And then I'm just Professor, goofball, just amazed by whatever they're coming up with.
Quite emo in that. Like
I do look very.
No wonder he's not into the Beatles. Like he's like the My Chemical Romance on repeat.
Honestly, I prefer the Stones.
Yeah,
I'd watch it. All right.
I thought we'd get a Charizard. I mean, that has got to be that needs to become official branding of the show where we start launching those. Well, I mean, we'd have to teach Mike though is the issue.
Well,
we also need to memorize the evolutionary stages, which we were saying wrong for a long time.
I got to be honest. Every time you guys do that bit, that is like, way over.
Wait, you didn't play Pokemon?
Absolutely not,
dude. It's Beatles of Game Boy games.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you want to talk about how much younger, Jacob, are you than Pat and I?
Well, I think I'm like as much younger than you are to Pat.
I'm 32. Are you 28?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So you might. You know what?
That's the same distance up to me.
It's like a Charmander. Aren't you?
Well, I was going to say you might have missed it.
Am I the Charizard?
I don't know. That's I literally don't know. I know there's a Charizard. I know there's a Charmander. Is there another Char?
Yeah,
Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard.
Charbroiled.
Charmeleon.
Charbroiled.
Yeah.
That's if you lose.
It's perfect because Pat, to me, is the same 4-year age difference. I mean, I'm post-hype Pokemon.
To be fair, I am not.
My only awareness, hang on, you're breaking up, was going to a nice restaurant in Buffalo one night and coming out and seeing like 100 people with their phones looking around in the grass for that was Pokemon Go. It was some sort of thing they were doing.
Pokemon Go to the polls.
It just, okay. If I were younger, I'd probably love it. Let's go. So, risers this week. I mean, before we get too specific, Pat, what are you seeing in the streets here this week? There's not been a lot of news.
Yeah, Malik Nabers, it feels like, is legitimately rising a little bit. I saw him go, it's one weird draft, but I saw him go like 103. And, I'm like, I'm open to taking him like a spot higher, I would say. His floor got better. Like if they get a rookie, the rookie stinks, or they don't get a rookie, like at least Jameis locks in something. So I'm generally with a small rise. If it gets a little more, I mean, there is part of me that wants to be like, Jameis isn't playing, right? Like they're going to find another quarterback. Yeah. But it does, at least the floor was horrible before, and now it's actually, the floor is kind of fun in a way.
The floor is fun, and he can catch 130 passes if Jameis does somehow start 17 games.
At least.
It's going to be awesome, right? Like, I don't know. I think I said it. He's going to have the world's greatest 4 games of all time, and then Jameis is going to get benched, and then it doesn't matter. So I don't know. I'll still take Malik Nabers at any ADP probably, because he's awesome, but I don't think we should be boosting him that much for a quarterback who's definitely not going to be throwing him the ball in the fantasy playoffs. He got like $8 million total guaranteed over 2 years. Like that's
right.
I don't think they have any intention of starting Jameis Winston, maybe even in week 1.
Hear me out, because this could actually play out in such a way that the Jameis Slappies win. The Titans say, we're not trading. We're not doing any of this. We're just taking Cam Ward. We're not, it's not open for debate. We are taking him. It's done.
That's happening.
The Browns take Abdul Carter.
The Cleveland Browns say, you know what? We are the largest. We are the saddest thing on the Northern American landmass. And we are tired of that. Please just let us do anything else other than be what we have been. Let's take Shadur Sanders.
Yeah, this show always comes back to it. This show always comes back to a Browns pain tolerance threshold discussion.
Correct.
Every week.
I will say, whenever you do stuff about the draft, the second you're like, I don't know, I don't think Shador goes too, the comments explode. It's good for engagement. You get a lot of like, what's up with the Shador hate? This is ridiculous. People really do think he's worthy of going too. I tend not to think he's going to. There is, he provides a potential escape pouch for a team that, is so screwed by this contract, the Watson contract. So I kind of get it. I wouldn't do it. I would take Carter or Hunter. But yeah, I mean, I guess.
But you can put that the other way, that the Watson contract precludes you from taking advantage of the Shador rookie contract. Like I would just ride out this Watson situation organizationally, but I understand it's different.
I think that's a better move. Yeah,
the motivation.
It's a better move, but it's just like So let's say they do take Abdul Carter. You are just basically signaling, like, we just don't care. Like, none of this matters. It's an exercise in futility every Sunday. Your jobs don't matter. Your performance doesn't matter. You're all here basically as mercenaries. It's no different than going into the coal mines every day. It's just like, I'm just here to do my job, man.
That happens sometimes. I mean, there are lots of teams.
Of course it does. Yeah, but I don't know. You have an out. You have the second pick. You have an out.
It's just tough with, like, anytime you're like, I'm going to take this quarterback that I normally wouldn't take over like a blue chip edge.
It's tough because Shadur's not that good.
Yeah, or like a generational wide receiver cornerback hybrid. Like, give me those guys. Like, that's not shade to Shador. That's those guys are amazing.
They also have the first pick in round 2. And there might be somebody they like just as much as Sanders, whether that's Milroe or Dart or whoever that might be. I think that'd be my plan if I were Cleveland. But how about
I don't think Dart will be there, but
Dart will not be there. Have you guys seen this smoke?
I'm not sure Tyler Chug is going to be there.
Oh, okay.
You'll be there.
We are actually banned. Tyler Chalk is banned. I'm not sure Jalen Milroe will be there. Have you guys seen the Jalen Milroe hype?
No. This is what happens. Every year, this is what happens.
Hype?
So the Jalen Milroe hype basically is the Steelers beat writers saying we don't think Dart is going to be there, and Jalen Milroe, what is he if not shitty Justin Fields, basically?
Oh,
the Steelers.
You mean the guy they didn't re-sign, even though they easily could have?
Absolutely not.
No, I reject that. I don't.
Well, I just think you can trade too. Cleveland should do better than quarterback 5. With the first pick of the second round this year. But this is what happens every year. The QBs get hyped, but last year we had it. We had Ben Solak, who I like days before the draft. Guys, Penix and Nix are not first round picks. Okay. They're not first round picks. Both top 12.
I was with them. I felt the same way. So,
normally
but last year's the outlier, right?
I think last year's the outlier. Yeah. Normally when people don't like them, sorry, go ahead.
Usually people are going like Hendon Hooker might go in the first. And it's like, nope. Like Matt Corral's going in the first. Desmond Ritter's going in the first. Jimmy Clausen's going in the first.
Ryan Nassib was my all-time favorite one that happened with, and then he ended up being a 7th round pick.
Oh, yeah, because Buffalo
Mallett was going in the first for a while.
Yeah. Buffalo had just hired Doug Marrone, the Syracuse coach, and Nassib was his quarterback at Syracuse, and they needed one. There was no obvious answer. Geno Smith, E.J. Manuel, and we talked about Nassib. Last year, in fact, Dart was like McCarthy. Even not even Nix or Penix, but McCarthy was is in late March last year. Weren't we debating whether he was a first round pick? And then he came in over top of both of them. So
that's right. Yeah, he's more than McCarthy. And we also did this with Shedeur and Cam. Like if you were following big boards like right after the season and stuff, they were both kind of outside top 20s a decent amount, and Shedeur's been outside. I mean, you could find top 20s. He's outside of now. So it is, it's natural that these guys rise up. But what typically happens is some guys are like, they sort of pass that test. And then once you're like a potential franchise quarterback, it's like, well, what's the difference between, taking them 7th and taking them 15th? Like, let's just get our guy.
Right.
But if you're not our guy, then you tend to fall like a while. There's not like usually that many 2nd round quarterbacks or 3rd round quarterbacks. It tends to be more like 4th round that people kind of circle back.
Well, Davis, your scenario about the Giants is at least realistic, and just if Sanders were to go too, what then? And just
it's not crazy. Like I don't think it's the
crazy.
Most likely thing, but it's certainly not crazy that the Giants could be shut out of trading up for Cam Ward and unable to select him at 2. Now, I think, I don't know, if I had to say, I'd say it's like 64% likely that Shedeur Sanders is a Giant at pick 3. I mean, the dude wore New York Giants cleats at his bowl game. Like they're not hiding it. It's not.
Deion said it. How his dad said it too.
It's very likely to happen. But the Browns have been involved. The Browns that didn't work out with him. Like it's certainly not impossible.
No, and just like the irony, the whole narrative on the Giants has been, okay, this is the team where the coach and the GM kind of really need to win. This is careers jobs on the line, and it's Jameis Winston being the quarterback. They spin the wheel. The guy they end up on to save the coach's job is 30 touchdown passes, 30 picks. Jameis Winston, just an homage to that one game last year where he threw for 497 against Denver. 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. I mean, what a night that was. Fantasy dreaming.
I mean, I think I'd rather have Jameis than Aaron Rodgers if I have to save my job this year. Like, Aaron Rodgers is definitely getting me fired. Like, that's just a lock. There's no way. I'm screwed. And it's going to hurt my reputation after I get fired.
Yeah, Diana Rossini reported this morning that why without an 8-9 win season, they're all gone. Dable, Sheen, everyone's fired.
Like
that's why they wanted Rodgers.
I think you win more games with Rodgers than Jameis.
For sure.
right?
Yeah,
but
Rodgers
how
is
many
not
times?
that bad.
How many times do I win 10 games and keep my job? I think Jameis is my guy in those scenarios. You know, because if you win like 9 or 10 games with Jameis, it's like, okay, yeah, that's a coaching achievement. If you win 9 games with Rodgers, they might be like, wow, you couldn't get more than 9 games out of Rodgers, and you're gonna have a bad year. It's gonna be a bad year of your life.
Well, yeah, you have Aaron Rodgers. Like, no matter how many games you win, by week 6, Diana Rossini is like, I'm hearing that Brian Dable sucks and is actually bad at his job, and and is rude, mean, and dumb. Like,
yeah, he wore Bluetooth headphones one day. It was over. I think. I don't know. They're probably going to draft Shador, and then that kills the Jameis end of the season dream. But how do they go into the season with Jameis? I think for us, we probably hope for Rodgers, and then he gets benched, and yeah, they're going to get fired, but they go out in a blaze of glory, and that's kind of your fever dream with Nabers. What do you think?
Well, like, what do we think happens if they go with Jameis and Shador? I think Shador just starts week 1, and Jameis is just the backup.
No, I guess what I'm saying is, like, how do we get the Jameis?
How do we get Jameis?
How do we get Jameis? Is it possible?
In injury.
Yeah.
And like late season injury, because the thing with Jameis is, like, if he takes over too early, then we're looking at Tommy DeVito in week 50.
Yep. If he takes over.
Jameis can only start
10?
for like 1 month in a row, right? Like with the Browns started too early, and then eventually they were like, we can't keep doing this. I think partially to tank on purpose, but
also head coaches. I mean, we know this. There's just nothing that tilts them more than interceptions.
Yeah,
just
and he'll throw like 40 of them.
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
You know, it is funny. Like, Andrew's saying they should have been fired in that case. It's very strange to me to be like, we need what I haven't been seeing out of my team as Mara is an 8-win season. Like, who cares, man? Like, why is that the bar? That's crazy. Like, why would you install these guys who have the number 3 overall pick and be like, what I want more than anything is for 8 games in 2025 to be wins? Like, why? You're sacrificing long-term for short-term mediocrity. It's bananas. I like Dayball, but if that was if that's the thinking, they should all be gone. Like, there's no reason to have a coaching staff and front office highly incentivized to get to 8 wins at all costs in the following season.
That's right.
No, it's horrible. Like, every time I get in the Giants argument with someone where, I think they too organizationally should pass on Sanders personally. Someone always brings up, well, like, yeah, but that's not how it works. Like, if you're Shane and you're going to get fired, you have to take him. And it's like, yeah, I agree. But, like, no organization should put itself in a position where your GM is, like, clearly exhibiting moral hazard. Where your GM is like, my incentives are so misaligned from that of my organization. I'm just going to do whatever I can do to preserve my own employment. Like, you should already terminate that person, or you should pat them on the shoulder and be like, I promise you, like, you're safe. Like, it's okay. I believe in you.
Yes.
But one of the two. Don't knock on their door and be like, 8 wins, Joe. 8 wins or you're dead.
Yeah, the comment here, 8 wins could be easily out of the playoffs in the NFCs.
Will be. Yeah.
So, I mean, what is the point?
I don't know. The Giants have been bad for a long time. The one fluke year where Daboll showed up and they won the playoff game in Minnesota, but really for a decade it's been like almost
years, by the way.
Yeah, right.
that season.
I mean, are they spooked by the Hard Knocks thing with Barkley? Of course, Barkley just has an incredible year. That's kind of it, I think.
I mean, we basically know this is these rich guys who own NFL teams just like hate being laughed at. That's really what it is. These guys, like, John Mara goes to the ownership meetings and everyone's like, you're a loser, dude. And he's like, no one calls me a loser, and gets away with it. Like, life is not really more complex than that. John Mara is a rich man who's used to being respected, doing well in business, doing well in life. And for 15 years, he's been the butt of every joke. Like, you think Mara goes like golfing with his buddies and you think they're not like, finish last just like your shitty fucking team, John, like, you know what I'm saying?
It's really like that.
It's really, I guarantee. I mean, you guys have,
it's getting
like,
bullied out there.
I guarantee that's what it's like.
I think I would just never bring the subject of the Giants up. If I were playing golf with, I'd probably just like not bring it up. But yeah, what was the one too? If this counts, remember who was it that had a report that his carpenter or somebody was leaking that Daniel Jones was going to be signed? Was that Silva? Who had that? Somebody had that, like a source close. John Mara's someone doing repairs on his house had some sort of intel on what they were going to do that proved, I think, to be correct. Anyway,
that does sound familiar.
Anybody else on here? I've been drafting Christian Kirk. I like that. I like it. Houston for him.
Yeah.
They did the mix and move. Mason, a big mover.
Kirk almost feels like a cheat code where you're like, oh, all the receivers are gone. Oh, wait, here's Christian Kirk.
Man, anytime you say the words Christian Kirk feels like a cheat code and you're playing a half PPR game, I would just like, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm also not saying you're right. You know what I'm saying?
It's the Jacoby Myers.
Well, Corain, in your mental model, where are you ranking Christian Kirk after they selected Mecca Egbuka with the 24th pick in the 2025
they're
NFL
selecting
draft?
an offensive lineman. They purged their entire offensive line.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Also, Egbuka seems to be falling. That was the worst
pick in your mock draft. I was yelling. I was just walking down the street yelling veto as I listened to that.
Yeah,
he was vetoing. He used his veto.
He tried.
We didn't hear you though.
Yeah,
Omarion Hampton. Well, actually, before I say that, some of the, I would say Fields, Mason, and Kirk are kind of just like ADPs fixing themselves. Like there's not, we all know why. And I think room to rise, especially for Mason. I take him ahead of that ADP pretty comfortably. Hampton is interesting. This one feels like it's just been like a slow climb, but like this dude is going first round. Yet. He's going first round. So
might go top 10.
Yeah, for real. Like he was mocked by Todd McShay at 10 to the Bears, which would put him in the second round probably. You're just like, I mean, maybe not right away, but I think at a certain point you'd go, the Bears drafted a running back top 10. Why am I taking Josh Jacobs over him?
Like, I mean, I think it's arguably over 50% chance. I think it is over 50% chance that he winds up at one of the Bears at 10, the Broncos at 20, or the Cowboys at 12. I would say that's like probably 50 to 60% chance he gets one of those three. And I think in any of those three, he's a late 2 or an early 3 pick.
Yeah. Question about McShay's accuracy. I would say as far as like the market versus McShay, give me McShay right now because the market seems to sort of be like have a stale opinion that he's like a second round pick. And the drumbeat on him being a first round pick is loud. And yeah, maybe 10 to the Bears is hot. I actually do think it's hot. I don't think he goes 10 to the Bears, but anytime I'm seeing the guys who are like, you know, got league sources and doing the tape evals and they're mocking a running back 10 to one of the best landing spots, I'm going to pay attention, you know.
His accuracy, like you don't want to be right yet. Like this is not when you want to be right. You just want to sort of bring up, if you're McShay, and bring up different scenarios. And do you even need to be right in this respect on Hampton for that to be good value? If he goes early second, I mean, you do see those mock drafts too. I do, where he's not in the first round. Still, like not
I think you're good.
Cut. I think you're good.
Yeah, we took Breece Hall in what? Like, where did we take Breece Hall as a rookie? Like before everybody lost their minds about Michael Carter. Like
about fifth round, fourth, fifth round. Yeah.
So if and that was on the Jets, and I mean Hall was a better prospect than Hampton, I think. But like, still, if Hampton goes early 2 to a really good landing spot, that late 4th ADP is totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like too care. Like part of it is because I think Hall is a better prospect than Hampton. Assuming both draft capital, like I think Hall as a second round pick was a better prospect than Hampton as a first round pick. Like Hampton, I don't think is an amazing prospect. I think he's a good prospect, but I mean,
couldn't Caleb Johnson have just freaking run a 4.48 so we didn't have to do any of this? I mean, this is like the most tilting thing because Caleb Johnson's just like clearly a better running back than Omarion Hampton. So could you have just like, I don't know, man, just like done some jumping jacks for a week and got into a 4.48. I'm just like actively tilting that we have to do this.
But Hampton's like the perfect scenario because the stuff that I'm not convinced he's good at is the stuff that doesn't matter that much for fantasy, frankly. Like he's big, he's fast, he catches passes. I'm not convinced that he necessarily excels in the subtleties of the game, but the NFL is. They're taking him round 1. So that's like fine enough to me. Like he's even compared to Johnson, like he's a more fantasy friendly prospect than Johnson. He's
much
faster,
more fantasy friendly than Johnson.
A much better receiver. Like if the NFL is going to be all in on Hampton, I don't really see a reason why I should be like sticking my nose in the air about it.
I completely agree. And I also think like from the ability to contribute right away, it's kind of like you're like really splitting hairs, like if it's in Dynasty, I think maybe there's more, I would feel more comfortable kind of getting into like, well, he's not as good a prospect as this guy, but like, I don't know if I'm going to have to pay a 3rd or 4th round pick for a guy who's got immediate opportunity with really strong draft capital. I'm into that. And right now I'm paying an early 5th round pick, or I guess he just got into the late 4th, but like, God, he's, I think, still just a clear target. He's going to move up after the draft. Like, yeah, it's possible he doesn't. It's possible he lands in a bad spot, but
where would the bad spot for Hampton even be? The only one I could see going to a bad spot is Genty if he gets to the 49ers, because Kyle is just the type of guy who would do that. But Hampton is not going to go to a timeshare spot. Hampton is only.
I mean, like, what if the Saints took him? Which would be super dumb, but bad stuff always happens in the draft.
Yeah.
There's always like, what? Like, no, you're not the team. You don't get the running back.
Seahawks take him at 20.
Charbonnet. Yeah. Seattle.
Charbonnet. Charbonnet. I mean, the Seahawks taking Charbonnet was nuts at the time and has proven nuts. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's such a bad use of 2nd round capital to take a backup running back. But I don't know. Teams do weird stuff. So I wouldn't rule it out. It's just that I think in the vast majority of outcomes, this dude's moving up after the draft.
You do have the teams we mentioned. LA would be another. Chargers would be another one. It's a small handful of teams where it's wide open, you would think. Otherwise, well, Chargers less so than a month ago before Najee. But
he would
probably
dust Najee with as a 1st round pick. Najee is a backup. Like,
could happen.
What about the Texans round 1? That I think would be maybe really fun late season, but probably really annoying early season.
What about your linemen? What about your linemen?
Well, maybe they would think, what?
Jacob?
We don't need to take a lineman because we're never going to pass the ball. So we'll just run the ball we'll run through our problems.
Not great for my Christian Kirk bags. Yeah, I mean, like something like that would be, and you could talk yourself into it organizationally. You have a succession plan at running back, which you never need and shouldn't put in place. But like,
yeah, I know.
Maybe that you want that.
What about the Chiefs?
That's awesome.
Davis, how high would you take him on the Chiefs?
That is a bad question to ask. The correct question is, where should the market take him?
No. That's not the question I want to know.
Do you like the Beatles or do you respect the Beatles?
Yeah, Davis, I asked you a question.
I mean, I would take him as the running back 9, so where Jacobs is going.
Not 1.
Yeah, that's wrong. Actually, the answer is that you would take him running back 7.
Well, running back 9, he wouldn't get to running back 9. He would not get ahead of.
I don't know, Davis. You do a lot of drafts.
You're making some compelling points. You're making some compelling. I mean, the thing is they would have to remove for you to feel really good about Hampton on the Chiefs. They would have to remove Hunt.
Yeah, I mean,
because
yeah.
Would he though? Because I was like, they're gonna send Hunt on his merry way, and
they didn't.
He did sign. I thought he would. I thought this would be a McKinnon situation where it would be, if they
we have you on speed dial.
We have you on speed dial. I didn't think it would be March 15th. Plan out. We'll see in 4 months for camp, buddy.
Yeah, they self-scouted that Pacheco tape and they used the speed dial.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, frankly, I think they probably hope that none of the guys they just paid have to play for them, and I hope they think, I think their plan is, we're going to take a guy on day 2, we're going to get him into camp, and we're going to really hope for the exact opposite of the Clyde Edwards-Helaire experience. So this guy comes in and he's awesome. He learns the offense quickly. He does everything we want, and basically Pacheco, Hunt, Mitchell, thanks for your service.
Who would you be most excited, like as a day, let's even say like round three Chiefs running back, who would you give them?
Right?
That's what
Harvey,
that's what
Harvey
I was
or
say.
Neal.
Oh,
Harvey or Neal.
I was going to say, I think Samson would be a really great fit.
Samson would be fun. I think Harvey's even more fun because of the pass catching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Giddens, Tootin.
Giddens would be fun. Tootin would be fun.
You get the local angle.
Honestly, Scattaboo would be fun on the Chiefs.
Oh, he'd be great on the Chiefs. Yeah.
I mean, Carson
fit.
Steele with a little bit of extra juice,
It's like
what we were dreaming P. Ryan would be last year. Like where it's like you got a big guy, he's gonna catch a bunch of passes.
The big
McKinnon.
McKinnon.
I like the Scattaboo one.
Yeah.
All we know is like if they actually draft Omarion Hampton in the first round, there's going to be a Davis Maddox stream where he's going to be on the board like pick 14, and he's going to be like, well, I know he's not getting back to the 3-4 turn.
Yeah,
so
dude.
I gotta mix him into the fabric of this team from here.
Davis would just treat Derrick Henry as every time I see Derrick Henry, I draft Omarion Hampton on the Chiefs.
Yeah,
that's
facts. Yeah,
yeah. That's exactly right.
Omarion Hampton on the Chiefs would eliminate the need to differentiate the portfolio with Henry. Yeah.
We're there. We got there.
Yeah.
We got there. He said he was taking him at RB9 for a minute.
It's August 14th. Christian McCaffrey has nothing but positive reviews about health. He's like, oh, dude, I feel great. He plays in a preseason game. We get a McCaffrey reception in a preseason game, like a 13-yard little, scamper. He's like, I feel great. Purdy signs a contract extension. All the vibes are good, right? Pearsall has got his new number. Everyone feels happy. Where are you taking McCaffrey relative to Chiefs Omarion Hampton?
Ahead of him.
I love that hypothetical goes up against this other.
A lot of pieces to this.
This is dueling hypotheticals, basically.
Wait, sorry. Can you
I'm taking Chiefs. I'm taking CMC over Chiefs Omarion Hampton there.
Okay. All right.
You're giving me everything swell 49ers
all
healthy
swell.
CMC. I mean, he was the 101 last
Wait,
year.
Was that the only hypothetical about CMC is that he's healthy?
And he caught a 13-yard pass.
And everything's going great.
He caught a 13-yard pass in the preseason.
I don't even need the 13-yard pass in the preseason. I will take Christian McCaffrey over Chiefs Omarion Hampton.
I mean, I think about it.
You're not going to get a 13-yard preseason reception.
Okay, this will be quicker. Who would you take over Chiefs Omarion Hampton?
Justin
Saquon?
Jefferson.
What if Jefferson
running back, Davis?
What if Jefferson got traded to Houston? What if
101 Justin Jefferson, 102 Devontae Adams, 103 Joe Thuney, 104.
Davis pretended there's 8 running backs he would take over this guy, and he can't name one.
I mean, frankly, I think
105
Barkley is
Milton
a horrible
Williams.
pick. I think Barkley is a horrible pick right now, and I'm wondering. Here's a question. This is not even really related to what we're talking about. At any point, will the market realize that he's a bad pick, or will he'll just be the 101, 102 the whole time?
I think he's going to go 101, 102 the whole time because who has the courage among us to stand up after the people?
I don't. I don't. No, I don't. I sit there and eat my vegetables.
If Omarion Hampton goes to the Chiefs, you might.
I'll tell you what. Probably one time in the main event, Crane we'll have like the 107, and I'll be like, guys, come on.
Yeah.
It's Omarion Hampton on the Chiefs. Let's just do it. I took Clyde.
And you're drafting a lot more teams with Davis this summer, too.
Yes, we are. We're gonna have Omarion Hampton on the Chiefs on one of them.
Clyde's rookie year, the group of guys that I do mains with, we took Clyde at the 104 once.
And how'd that
didn't work out.
Didn't work out.
Felt good.
Before or after the opening night?
Though.
Yeah.
Before.
Awesome. Week 1.
Caleb Johnson, who you mentioned, is on the Fallers squad this week. We could have our fun with Caleb Johnson on the Chiefs too, but would not be as high as Hampton. Still a slight drop here. And you have Jordan Whittington back-to-back. That's rarefied air, back-to-back faller.
Yeah, back-to-back fallers.
back to back. Then also Metcalf maybe was on the list last week as well. And JSN, is there anything to that other than just sort of negativity toward that offense?
I guess the Cooper Kupp.
It's the Spider-Man pointing meme wide receiver room. Cooper Kupp, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, Jake Bobo sit in a bar. That's the beginning to a joke. It's not a wide receiver room you want, I don't think.
Yeah,
is Jake Bobo gonna play?
Well, and
they probably draft somebody, right?
Primarily. Well, and they'll probably draft someone. Yeah, I think it's not a good spot where my fear is that because Kupp is the more limited player. My fear is they wind up catering to his needs, and then JSN has to do stuff that he is a lot better at than Cooper Kupp, but maybe not what he actually does best, and he ends up having to play that sort of intermediate deep role. Normally it wouldn't matter, but like I assume they're going to run so many sets with 2 tight ends or with a fullback that they're going to only have 2 wide receivers on the field a lot, which I thought was part of the reason why they got rid of Metcalf. But then they go and they get a guy who could almost only play in the slot at this point in his career. So I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I don't know that it's going to be that bad for JSN's fantasy value. Like I'm more concerned about like the Seattle offense generally from like a real life standpoint.
Me too.
I think from a JSN fantasy standpoint, like he's still going to get a bunch of targets. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah. It doesn't, I mean, yeah, the design of the offense doesn't make a lot of sense if this is kind of the final iteration. Maybe they get somebody in the second round or something. I do like the Xavier Restrepo idea as just get the slowest, slottiest wide receiver core out there.
Yeah.
But I'm concerned
Bell
about
might be available.
David Bell. Yeah. Tyler Boyd, I think, literally is available. You could the contract for Darnold, the ability to move on after the year, and the potential for this to kind of all go down as like a failed experiment, like
50 sacks.
Yeah. I mean, Darnold behind a weak interior offensive line is a bad idea, and that is what the Seahawks are going to do this year. And they can get out after the season, but we could be talking about other people getting out. Like the defensive hire who fires his OC, after the season. I know it was after his first season, and he should be safe. But if this implodes down the stretch, we could just be talking about them cleaning house. That's a tough spot to be in if you're hoping for week 17 fantasy points.
That's what makes the move
fun
kind
of Darnold is that he can chuck it deep, right? Like that's the fun is like he has a great arm and you can throw these deep intermediate passes, and it's like, well, we're gonna draft a bunch of wide receivers who specialize in running 8 yards.
Yeah, you guys ever heard of Marquez Valdez-Scantling?
Oh, right. I literally forgot he existed.
The new Rashid Shaheed.
It's going to be week 7, and they're going to be playing him more routes than Kupp when they realize, like,
for sure.
the best iteration of their offense is.
I think they might be planning to do that. Like
former Bill MVS.
People forget.
Literally,
they do forget.
Let's talk about the running backs between just arbitrarily. We decided 25 and 35. I'm often getting to this, like a lot of people, I'm sure. You get to round 8 or 9, and you've got 4 or 5 receivers, a couple of running backs.
Start taking quarterbacks.
Yeah, because some of these options are just that unappealing. We got a few slides here, Pat, if you want to just sort of like move as the conversation moves to guy, but some great work here by Zach again. Overall strategy, like you said, quarterbacks already, Davis. I mean, is this a group where you feel like you can afford to avoid?
Yeah, I mean, so DeAndre Swift can only kill you if the Bears add no one, which they're probably not going to do. Frankly, I don't really see any way that
round picks.
Yeah, ETN is at best in a timeshare with a guy who's better than him, and maybe they take someone. Pacheco, we just went over that. Brian Robinson Jr. will probably be what he's always been, but with some chance of added competition in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Corain, I'll let you speak on Jaylen Warren. These guys feel to me all of them are so insanely fragile. Like each and every one of them, I'm like, this some of these guys could, if the Bears take, let's just say, for example, the Bears take Hampton or Genty. I mean, DeAndre Swift gets drafted, maybe.
He'll get drafted.
Well, he'll get drafted, but then he's like Kenny Gainwell or whatever.
Right.
I dispute that. I mean, I think Warren is one of these things is not like the other. Like Warren's been a fantastic running back in all the stuff that we love,
and that's why they've always.
I know that everyone is scarred by. Like, are we not allowed to have dreams anymore? Like, what?
No,
we're
2024 killed all the dreams, buddy. I don't know if you watch.
I know that
it's over.
Well,
I know
that, in Canada.
Like,
you see these eyes. You saw those eyes. Those Pokemon eyes filled with hope.
Yeah, like I'm unburdened by what has been. I think I look at Warren and it's like they don't have a second round pick. All I have to fade is that Omarion Hampton goes before they have a chance to take him in round 1, which seems pretty possible. I think the Broncos are going to come through for me. They're not going to take anyone else at 21. They can't take anyone in round 2. And I will absolutely back Jaylen Warren to be better than any running back that they draft in round 3 or later. I have
then
zero
Damian
problem
Martinez
clicking the shit out of Jaylen Warren. Yeah, I like it. There's a lot of guys that I like. I like Damian Martinez, but like if you're giving me Warren with the advantage of incumbency as a running back who, for the 2 previous years to his injury-fueled year last year, was consistently cranking out top 5 rates in all the advanced metrics we care about. Yards after contact, missed tackles forced, like who has legit 215-pound size, is a pass catcher, probably the best pass blocking league or running back in the league in a regular rotation. Like that's a bet I massively want to make. Like what if they don't even take a running back until day 3? That's conceivable. I think all the downside risk is priced in here. And I'm pumped.
Buddy, I promise you all the downside risk is not priced in at running back 27.
How is he going any later outside if they take a running back in round 1? I don't understand how his ADP isn't rising in every single other scenario.
That he's Aaron Rodgers, who runs the slowest offense in football's third down back, and
Aaron Rodgers running backs are historically very bad for fantasy. They're awesome for fantasy. Aaron Rodgers has been a running back goldmine his whole career.
Did you really want Brees last year? He's fine.
No,
well, I mean,
at the first round, would I have taken
cost?
No, but year last year in round 8?
Sure.
Happily.
Yeah, they would have been an absolute smash. Yeah, I mean, it's a deep enough running back class that if they were to take like a Quinshaw Judkins I guess they don't have a second round pick to your point though.
Sorry, A. Schmaltz, after I talked about Warren with the benefits of incumbency, said, what about the global anti-incumbent environment we live in?
Yeah.
That really got me.
Also got the second round tender. It's a good sign.
That is a good sign.
That is a good sign.
I mean, they wanted to keep him. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm not saying like, oh, Jaylen Warren's the worst pick on the board or anything like that, but it's very easy for me to imagine Jaylen Warren going the way of James White, basically.
The thing about
just
Warren,
that they wanted to keep Warren. Najee Harris got $5.25 million, and they said not matching it. See you later. Go to LA.
Yeah, they don't want. They know he sucks.
They decided he wouldn't be back before last year started.
100%.
When they didn't pick up the option on Harris.
Well, I mean, Harris got plenty of run because Warren was banged up all of last season. I think that's part of the upside with Warren is that there's, he struggled through injury, didn't really look like himself for much of the year, kind of looked better down the stretch a little bit. Never turned in the season I was hoping in terms of the advanced stuff. We are kind of leaning more on, I guess if you're going to make the Warren bear case a little bit, like you are leaning more on 2 years ago from the advanced metrics than last year. Sure. And you're kind of you're sort of hand waving away a bad season from a guy who was a UDFA. And with these guys, because they don't have the pedigree, it's like they kind of always have to do it or they risk getting replaced. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they were to take a Hampton in the first round or something. And he's,
this is not an anti-Jaylen Warren take that I'm proffering. It's just basically this is just kind of what happens with NFL running backs. Like how many examples of running backs do we have that we put in this bucket, us as in the nerds, like these like secret superstars, these really efficient guys, they catch passes, they break tackles, they do all these things. Like how many guys have we wish casted?
Antonio Gibson.
Look, we were right about Tony Pollard, and he broke his ankle. He proved last year that we were right all along. Like we would have been right. in 2023. He just
now
got
if I can
what I would say just on that is like part of the reason I was so in on Warren last year is that like these types of of opportunities at the running back position, they do happen, but they tend to be somewhat short-lived where like a guy is showing a lot 100%. Of juice and then you're like, this dude's showing a lot of juice unexpectedly. I'm in now. I'm not going to be in necessarily 2 years, 3 years from now. Right. So the fact that Warren's coming off the bad season makes me a little bit nervous. However, he is an elite pass blocker and he's also the receiving back. So like that role to me, and this, by the way, although this is a deep class, this is not a particularly deep class in terms of pass catching running backs.
No, it's not.
So if they were to take Scattaboo, that would really suck for him because like he kind of is he's like little Scattaboo. Yeah. So, but outside of that and outside of a first round pick, we're talking about guys who pair quite well with him, like a Damian Martinez would pair. Damian Martinez is a Najee stuff.
Love him.
Yeah, he would love him, but he's not going to be out there on passing downs. And Warren's the type of dude who, if you get the first down, you leave him on the field a lot of the time. So I think forming a committee, I see the bear case a little bit, but I think he clearly is a better bet than a lot of these guys on the side. I mean, for one thing, he's going ahead of a lot of these guys, so the market agrees. The point I wanted to make on this general group is I want upside. Like, I agree, Davis, that all these guys are fragile, including Warren, because we don't know what's going to happen in the draft. But give me the upside. I think ETN stands out a little bit, especially because of where he's going.
I thought
he was
that
really
for
good
a
2
while.
years ago.
I like Tank too. I like both these Jacksonville backs. I'm optimistic on that team. I mean, we just saw them have a boatload of running back points last year.
I like Pollard. What if Ward is good?
Tampa did the scheme coming into Jacksonville.
Tony Pollard. What if Ward is good?
What if Ward is good? Yeah. I mean, so I wanted to come back to that ETN thing real quick. Crane, was he good 2 years ago, or did he just get a lot of volume 2 years ago? Because in my memory, I had his PFF stuff pulled up earlier. In my memory, he was good for like 8 games and then became a real volume grinder.
That might be right. He was terrible last year.
His advanced stats were really good 3 years ago. Then he was good for fantasy 2 years ago.
Oh, that's right.
And then he was
his
not
advanced...
good at all in any capacity last year.
This is ETN.
As I'm saying this, I'm getting less into the bet. But yeah.
No, you're right, Jacob. He was bad in rush yards over expected in 2023 as well as 2024. He's really good in 2022.
They wore him out both years, 22 and 23. They wore him out. Peterson admitted it. Like, we had to space out his workload, but last year they were so bad.
He had a freaking Liz Frank injury as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
I think with ETN though, like, he's still more versatile and Bigsby is just a straight up early down power back.
Yeah.
That he is a true 2-down back. And again, this is a class with a bunch of early down runners in it. So if they were to draft somebody, they would probably be competing with Tank Bigsby for that like early down role. And I think ETN is going to have a role in this offense. He's also like that pedigree, I think, still protects him a little bit. You know, that he was that first round pick, that he used to be really, really good. A new coaching staff coming in, creative, trying to get the ball in their playmakers' hands. Like, I think that ETN will be someone that they at least try to work in a real role this season. Maybe they eventually decide they don't like him, but there's upside, especially if they don't draft anybody. And so I do take him. I mean, I feel like once you get past pick 100 and you're like, okay, ETN's actually the handcuff to some other guy. Well, it's like Zach Charbonnet's about to go in a couple picks, and he is definitely the handcuff.
Yeah, that's the challenge in this range. Really tough. But Jacob, can you stay or do you have to leave?
I can stay as long as you want. I can stay all day long.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure because we do have our game, but we want to wait until the end as long as Jacob's going to be around for it. We also have a depth chart graphic, Pat, that's super good. The Cuck chair is mentioned. Cuck chasing, puck chasing. Jacob Chikrin, 8 years, $72 million for the Capitals. Yeah. Get our hockey quota.
We go live to Pat Green for his thoughts.
Etienne, Chikrin, the lot of them. Great chart here showing Tyrone Tracy. We didn't get to at the top of this list with the Giants.
He's a dangerous pick. I think he's a dangerous pick.
Yeah,
that he actually sums up like what I was trying to get at before with the upside thing. Is like with ETN, I'm trying to think what offenses, like when I look back and I'm like at the end of the season, why was I letting this guy fall outside the top 100 picks? The Jaguars lead running back is like a pretty obvious case. I'm interested in the Jaguars offense. I think they could be a really good offense. The Giants, like committee running back, it just feels like less of a guy who burns me, given sort of general sentiment on the Giants. I mean, we're thinking it's probably Shedeur Sanders, like leading, a rookie quarterback leading the team at the end of the season. And is this an offense we're going to be like gutted not to be heavily invested in? I kind of struggle to see that. Swift, because he goes so late, I've started to take a little bit. I was completely out on him when he was like in the 100 range, but as he goes to like, if you get him at like 125 or later, I want to be into the Bears offense. They have not yet drafted a running back. It could be that they take a Kaleb Johnson. If they take a Kaleb Johnson, Swift's actually in a pretty sick role. As that pass catcher, he's a little
other
less
than
likely
like not
to get
being
replaced.
good. Definitely.
Other than not being good, and Ben Johnson having faced him out previously.
You'll think that when they take Kaleb Johnson with their first second-round pick, but then when they come back and take Travion Henderson with their other second-round pick, that's when it's over.
That's a good point. No, I honestly hate clicking him, but I do. If he falls far enough, I'm just trying to think like all these guys are fragile. All of them feel gross, but who actually has like upside? To be part of an offense that we want to be in, who can recapture like an explosive form. Pollard, I basically don't take, right? Because I'm like, what am I? The Titans offense, is that gonna be what burns me this year? I mean, I guess Cam Ward could be really good.
They're going to draft a power back. There's reports that they look at Pollard and Spears. They like both, but that they've decided that they no longer want duplicative running backs. They want a complementary running back, and so they're going to add a third apparently this draft.
I love that.
Aaron Jones could still be Aaron Jones, by the way.
Yeah, I don't mind Jones. It's just you feel like you're like hanging on for dear life.
You really do.
You take Aaron Jones. Tracy is one where like, what's really the difference between Tyrone Tracy and Jerome Ford? Like to me, like it's like they're both probably going to wind up having the same year. Like they're going to
Jerome
start
Ford is a good pick.
The 1A in a committee. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like you can get exactly what Tracy is like way later with Jerome Ford.
Totally.
It's just we seemingly like pick spots. It's the same argument we like. Jerome Ford is kind of the argument that we made about like Dowdle last year, where it's like
Jerome Ford.
Why have we decided that one guy has no chance? Yeah, it's just with how deep this running back class is. Any running back who's like essentially on their own and is not like Saquon Barkley level talented, like they're going to get competition, and the market is going to price it as competition because we react to everything after the fact. So the only running backs, and I wouldn't even say they're protected, but the only running backs with a chance of getting through this draft unscathed are the Giga superstars or the guys on teams where there's already 2 to 3 clear running backs, right? Like Jacksonville's a team where maybe they look at it, maybe they just like Etienne and Bigsby, and so they don't actually have to add a legitimate third option. Or like I really like the Buck situation where they have Irving and White and Tucker.
White helps him.
Where it's like you have a little bit of protection where if you already have kind of a mediocre backup.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely like, I mean, the Seahawks, right? The Seahawks look pretty protected. Point out that a comment here, the offense you want is Pacheco's. I'll say I have taken Pacheco now a little. I rarely take him, but if he falls far enough, I'm like, okay, the number 2 running back on the Chiefs, because I'm kind of assuming he's the number 2 to someone. They draft someone, or it's like a gross enough committee that he's functionally a number 2.
So if he's the number 2, that means they don't draft anyone, because if then he'd be the number 2 to hunt.
I know. Well, that's that. I'm not a Pacheco guy, but at a certain point, you're like, I'm getting the upside of he actually all just was that he was hurt last year, and you get like, he actually is the one for Patrick Mahomes. Like that's it. If he's well outside the top 100 picks, there is upside, but he was one of the worst picks on the board for a long time, and he's fallen significantly since then.
Davis, what is Kansas City doing with the second pick of the third round? Tennessee's pick.
Probably trading back. Yeah.
Snead. No, I didn't know how they got it. I was wondering how they got the second pick of the third round, but L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, people don't know Tyron Tracy's 25.
Yeah.
I would say with like the Tracy thing, it's always helpful for me to like understand like what I'm paying for. And with Tracy, you're paying for a second year breakout on a team that we're not like that interested in, and a guy who like might have to be going against a rookie ultimately. So it's like a lot to me. I love the Jerome Ford comp because I don't have to with Ford. I'm like, I'm not paying for anything. Like there is no upside in here that like Ford the player. It's purely the role. So like anything you get from Ford beyond, 1B on the Browns is upside, including what if he's 1A on the Browns,
Right. Running back 48. Just want to mention too on that chart that says the rest, Zach's line, because we didn't have enough carries from Travis Homer to qualify for a spider chart. We did just zip through some spider charts.
We zipped through
here.
all of these. Do we need to? Is there any? Oh, these are actually pretty interesting.
Awesome.
Even color themed, by the way.
These are the charts of the future.
All right, so let's go through this. So basically, Tyron Tracy is just Devin Singletary again. Not so great.
Yeah,
Mason and
he's not good.
Jones are look like they complement each other pretty well here. You'd say.
Yeah.
Elusive rating, PFF grade, breakaway percentage. Some of the stats here that are
success rate. Yeah.
Analyzed.
We got the Pollard Spears Star of David there.
Mm-hmm. That's why they like them both. They go well together.
Yeah.
Ramondre and Antonio Gibson. This backfield is an interesting one because they should. First of all, they kind of replaced Gibson last year with like JaMychal Hasty, so he's dangerous as hell. He doesn't need anything to happen to be useless. Ramondre is a little bit safer, but they could easily replace. Like he did not look very good last year. He had a couple of moments, but largely not great. And
that one game they said they were going to bench him and they didn't. They forgot or whatever that was.
They forgot to bench him for fumbling. Yeah.
Real
master class of coaching there. They literally forgot to. Gerard Mayo just was like, yeah, totally.
Never mind.
My mind.
Right.
Wait, is that 38? God damn it! Who let him on the field?
No, he didn't even realize. After
we
the
talked
game, they're
about
like,
this.
Didn't you say he was going to bench him? He's like, I did say that.
We talked about this. Yes.
Yeah.
Truly, like, what would happen if Michael Scott coached an NFL team? It's like the Gerard Mayo experience.
It's a new regime, so they could eat, but they have so many needs. Couldn't you see the Patriots not bringing someone in?
Have you ever met Mike Vrabel?
I was going to say, except Vrabel is like first position to solve, running back.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Like Mike Vrabel's like, look, we haven't addressed the offense yet. And by address the offense, I mean Travion Henderson in round 2, and we haven't taken a wide receiver yet.
Or Genty at 4. Could that happen?
Literally, man.
Oh my God. Could you imagine the draft stream on the Ship Chasing draft stream when Ashton Genty comes off the board at pick number 4 would be an incredible moment.
I've been like a quasi Patriots fan since they drafted May because I know want that.
Kareem's just doing the surrender cobra.
I would be out. The quasi fandom would be over if they took Genty at 4 with the number of needs they have. Offensive line. Apologies to your friend Jacob, but the offensive line is terrible. So very bad.
Hey, I've heard it's getting better.
Both can be true.
Both can be true. That is unfortunately true. Etienne and Bigsby pair together pretty well here. Look at these routes. They run a lot of routes.
Kareem Hunt is just better. I say it.
Better Pacheco. Oh, that is rough. Oh, I wish I looked at this chart before saying he was drafted.
For the audio listeners, it's a circle like those combine charts, and then they get these little dots that extend out if you're doing better, and then they're closer to the center of the circle if you're doing worse. And the Chiefs chart is just an Isaiah Pacheco rectangle that is entirely inside of the larger Kareem Hunt rectangle.
That actually understates how bad it is. It's entirely inside, and you could fit 2 of them inside of this Hunt rectangle.
It's a sideways Washington Capitals logo somehow.
Yeah. And again, this is like 37-year-old Kareem Hunt who was out of the NFL for a year.
By the way, this is PFF grade on routes. So PFF receiving grade, I suppose. Of sorts.
Kareem Hunt long of 20 yards.
Seattle, two really good running backs. I guess that's
Look at this
last
you
season.
Draft them back to back in round 2.
This chart perfectly. I mean, that does make you feel good about the metrics when you see that Zach Charbonnet is literally just Walker again, and that we know that to be true.
Yeah,
Robinson's a dude I'm not really taking because I'm like, what is the upside? Like
we got it last year.
That's
we
right.
Got it last year.
The same. The upside would be the same.
After
it's a fun
draft,
team to think about adding a good rookie. I mean, there are just so many. When you gave Davis the Chiefs question and rattled off 5 or 6 names about who might be great there, Washington, there are other teams where you could have the same conversation. I talked to Scott Barrett from Fantasy Points last week, and we're talking about James Cook and Buffalo. Cook, I'm not sure it's going to get to a point where it's a holdout, but like, just what is that? And like, I don't even care who you are, basically, was his point in the 4th round on Saturday. You're picking one of these guys. There's just so many that have real life.
And Robinson, I'm a Brian Robinson appreciator compared to probably most fantasy players, but it is kind of a waste to have Brian Robinson there when you have Jaden Daniels. Like if you have the extreme threat rushing quarterback, you don't really want like just kind of a plodding hammer. You want like not the reliable decision maker guy. You want the fast guy. You want the guy who's going to be the win more running back, who's going to create those explosive plays, who's going to take advantage of the big lanes. Yeah, exactly. Like get someone with some juice and have some fun.
I agree, and I've been pro Brian Robinson. Davis was the first Brian Robinson bull here, saying coaches were going to love him.
Coaches back when he was guys like that.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah, they did. So I this is a Brian Robinson show, to be honest, but we're still. It's just like, man, we're taking on risk with all these guys, and to not have much upside beyond what we got last year, which was good, but like then he goes back to this range. We're like, thank you, Brian Robinson. Go back to where we're going to put you back where we found you in ADP.
Go back in the box.
You go back in the box. It's just a little. I just want to know that I actually have that bet again, even if I have to pay a little more for it. It's just there's a lot of risk to take on, not a ton of upside.
Is Eckler dead?
Eckler. I take him occasionally, but I mean,
we're near the end.
It is another one of these charts where the boxes look pretty similar.
Yeah. By the way, Jack's calling me out for drafting Pacheco, also taking 3 quarterbacks. I think they were J.J. McCarthy, Cam Ward, and Shador. I got boxed out a little bit. I actually timed out on Pacheco there. And
still counts.
Still counts.
But your own rankings.
Right. You timed out him because he had fallen a lot past ADP. He was the top guy by ADP. So, but yeah, Pacheco's not a fun click.
You don't have them set up by your own rankings?
No, I use ADP in the app. I have a sidekick guy. I like to see kind of the market, and then if the sidekicks help me out with the ranks, then I don't need double ranks.
Okay. Lastly, in terms of the slides, a slide from Sam. Who is the mystery wide receiver? We have Joshua Palmer, Darius Slayton, both in big money territory this year through free agency, career yards per route run.
T. Higgins.
T. Higgins. That is T. Higgins. He only got the $10 million technically guaranteed.
Now, this asterisk here is sort of important. It says in game selected by Sam Sherman. So, I think I'm not sure. I'll go ahead and say T. Higgins. Oh, it's Tutu Atwell.
Oh,
it's Tutu Atwell.
So I'm assuming those games are the I'm assuming they're the non-Cooper Kupp games, probably.
Also, is that a silhouette of T. Higgins?
Yes, it's a silhouette of T. Higgins. And he changed it to Tutu.
Fake outline.
Next
outline.
He heard us say it last week, Davis, how we knew, or whenever it was recently, we knew who it was by the outline. He heard that, and he took it to heart.
Damn.
The great ones are always innovating.
Man,
that's truly an innovation. I've been an outline maven this whole time, to be honest.
So finally, we don't have to be short here if we don't want to, but this idea of mine was, we've talked about like the very end of drafts. I'm thinking back to a show we did together last year when I stepped in with the Deep End Invitational draft. And Pat, I remember asking you guys, like, who is somebody that you haven't drafted at all? I mean, that's like July or August, that maybe would give you some trepidation. And we could figure out a way to sort of track this. I'll certainly keep track, but how to score it. Round 20, or as we get to Best Ball Mania round 18, that last pick, regardless of correlation, I would say probably just somebody that you think might have, some real upside, picked at the very end.
Let's set an ADP that we can 200 stick with throughout the whole summer.
200 or 210. I guess 200, yeah, because it goes
200
to 216. And
200 works.
200 or higher. So I am not the graphic designer in the family, but I do have an Excel spreadsheet where I'm just going to sort of enter these names as we go. I'll share that, even if it's embarrassing for me to do. But yeah, so I don't know. Anybody want to start?
I'll do mine.
No, I got one. All right, you can go first, Davis.
All right, mine.
Hang on. What are we judging this by? Are we judging this by the points they score?
As we go through the season, guys that have really like made a difference, come up with some kind of way to score it. Maybe just an eye test thing. But yeah, we're looking for players.
We're not using the eye test. That's not going to work.
Okay, fine. We're looking for guys that are
in a competitive game. The eye test is not going to be good.
And I can't share the screen anyway. But we're looking for guys who are going to do it.
By the eye test, I think I won.
Yeah. Well, that's. Isn't that kind of how you did it before?
No, we did it. I mean, we did win. Yeah, but we did it by.
We measured ADP closing line value. So if you picked a guy who was going 60 and then they ended up at 40, that was a huge win because it was done by percentage. If you pick a guy who's going 210 and he goes 150, that is still big, but not as big as 60 to 30 or whatever.
Well, we'll figure something out. But I was thinking that it would be by performance, not just trends.
Right. Yeah, so we're going by points. We is being judged by points scored.
Right, with the fundamentally idea being, you're still shooting. It's still
not really
mania. You're not playing for the floor here. Where you can, I guess. Do what you want.
Not really in the theme of the show to try and help people and give good picks. So it's a little bit of a bummer. But
I know we're really going out on a limb here.
Yeah.
Well, Davis, you have one?
Should we just do points in week 15 to 17?
Sure.
Sure.
Timestamp it. Points, weeks 15 to 17.
Nice and chaotic.
I will take LaQuint Allen Jr., the leading pass-catching running back in college football last season. He's Dylan Laube with some juice, people are saying more and more. He is probably, outside of Genty, Travion, and Giddens, the best pass-catching running back in the class. Which, I mean, he's not going to go day 2, but if a team did take him day 2, I'd be like, well, I get it. It's the more scarce thing.
I think it's pretty wide range. Like, he could go late day 2. He could go, 6th,
Yes.
But he's...
Yeah, he could be a real faller.
Yeah. But, pass-catching running back, definitely intriguing.
You think it's better to play rookies at this early stage for this game than vets?
Well, I'm playing a rookie. The year is 2021. All right. There's a team that has future superstar Malik Nabers has 28 catches. Future superstar Brian Thomas has 28 catches. Future NFLers Trey Palmer and Keyshawn Butte have 30 catches and 38 catches. But freshman Jack Besh beats them all with 43 catches on the 2021 LSU Tigers.
People hate when you make this point.
I think he's going to be a round 2 pick. He fits perfectly as the F wide receiver in the modern NFL. There's no player in this class who, to me, more perfectly fits where the NFL's going than Jack Besh. I think he has a very underrated profile based on that beginning to his career. I also think he passes the eye test, show. And going currently outside the top 200. I think he's a guy that I could see going a lot higher and having a really strong end of season.
Okay. We should talk about the latest mock draft sort of trends when it comes to the receivers. I've been seeing more and more often like one in the first round.
Besh had kind of his moment at the Senior Bowl and was, really kind of that like, hey, like why take this guy in the first if you can get Jack Besh in the second guy? That's now Jaden Higgins, I would say, a little bit more from what I'm hearing. Like, look, Jaden Higgins is like your plug-in, arbitrage wide receiver in the second. I don't think that means Besh is necessarily not going to go second. I do think he maybe is slipping like slightly. I'm just not hearing as much about him, so I'm wondering if maybe he's a third rounder. But I think he goes day 2.
Kyle Williams, by the way,
for this target for sure. Kyle Williams was just Chris Sims wide receiver 2. I've been
watching
Chris Sims loves this. I mean, Chris Sims' fetish is releasing the worst rankings you've ever seen and then having everyone yell at it. Like, it's like, that tweet that's like, I'm not quote tweeting this. That's someone who's clearly has a fetish for getting yelled at. I mean, that is literally, he does this every year with the worst. And the guy, by the way,
he kind of hit last year though. He had Brian Thomas ahead of Marvin Harrison.
Dude, his process.
And he had Roman Wilson in his top 5 also on that.
He goes and watches the tape, and he doesn't like cut it with anything. It's just his tape.
Just unadulterated tape.
Which I frankly respect. Like, I have not, like, my rankings include some expected draft capital. That's me saying, okay, the market can have its say a little here. It's predictive. I stand by it as a process, but it is. I mean, it takes some balls to just be like, I'm going to go do one thing and then put rankings out on that thing.
He's like a monk. He goes into the Tate Monastery. He shuts out the entire outside world. He doesn't know anything about the stats. He doesn't know anything about the draft capital. He goes into the monastery. He emerges, white smoke. We're mixing several different religions now, and then his rankings come out, and sometimes he hits. The beauty of having like multiple preposterous rankings is that you only have to hit on one and then you can defend him, right? So it's like, because he had Thomas over Harrison, no one gets to be like, why is Roman Wilson in your top 5? Like, it's unimpeachable.
Right. Yeah. No, he was really in on Christian Watson, which was a good take. Like, at the time, people were not thinking he was going to go second round. He also was really out on Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave in that class. I was into Traylon Burks though, so we all have our misses. Yeah. But
do you guys think though that, like, just paying attention to the McShay stuff and just draft predictions, that it could end up with only one in the first round? I mean,
no,
Burden or Golden.
It'll be 2.
At least 2.
It'll be Golden, and Tet. By the way, there are people who have been historically so triggered by Chris Sims rankings that you can go and find them in a Google sheet on the internet that I currently have pulled up. My current favorite from looking at this is Jeremy Ruckert over Trey McBride in that class. Just looking at this very quickly. Damian Pierce ahead of James Cook. Roshan Johnson ahead of Chase Brown.
I remember at least a 24-hour period of, I think he had Alec Pierce as like his wide receiver 2 or 3. And then I remember after the Colts drafted him, I remember having like at least a stretch being like, maybe Chris Sims is right.
He had Paris Campbell 4 spots ahead of AJ Brown in 2019.
Well, so did Chris Ballard.
Of course, this doesn't include Travis Hunter, by the way.
I'm pretty sure that we took. I might have the wrong loser, but I remember the Colts were up with a chance to take AJ Brown, and I knew we were going to take a wide receiver in that draft, and we ended up taking, I think it was Ben Banagoo or some dude instead, and then AJ Brown goes to the Titans, and we ended up taking Campbell. And I was at like a work dinner, and I was like, "Please excuse me, I need to go to the washroom." And then I went to the washroom, and then I just like grabbed a bunch of toilet paper and I screamed into it for like a solid like minute.
Oh, cathartic. Hopefully,
yeah. Painful.
I like that was your initial reaction, and it has aged as badly as you could have ever.
Yeah, that was feared. I'm not always right on these takes, but I remember like that one, I was like very sure that like we should be taking AJ Brown and not these other goofs. I would have been okay with Metcalf, but it was like as soon as we took Paris Campbell, it was one of those where I was like, this isn't gonna work.
Last draft where one receiver only went in the first round, 2006, Santonio Holmes. Last time that happened.
Oh, we didn't get to play guess that wide receiver.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. Mystery receiver. Too late.
Where are you guys at on Golden? Because I finally have flipped him over Burden and Igbuka. Kind of been like it's been
Probably
sort of like waffling a little bit, like bringing him back, back and forth. They've been like all in one group for a while, but at this point, he's past him. I think he kind of continues to put distance as we get closer to the draft because it's like very clear that he's going to go first round. It is no longer clear that Igbuka goes first round, and it seems like Burden now seems like a dog to go first round. So after the draft, we're going to be taking second round Burden over potentially top 15 Golden. I don't think we are. No. So I'm kind of like,
I don't think Golden is much better than 50-50 to be in the first round either.
No,
I think he's much better than 50-50. He's like 90.
I think he's better than 50-50. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I put it 50-50 to be the wide receiver one in the class. Yeah,
I'd put it more like 70-30.
Did he go before McMillan?
I have Golden first wide receiver at I think plus 170.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
And he could get like the landing spots are pretty good. Not all of them, but I mean, if he were to go 12 to the Cowboys, like that's pretty good.
That feels like a thing that's happening.
So, all right, I don't really like Golden that much as a prospect, but if we're talking about a guy going 12 to the Cowboys, he's way too cheap, right? Man. Like both things can be true.
Yeah, I mean, Ruggs went 11 to the Raiders, but yeah, it's worth the shot, right? Like. There's an element of humility to it that is necessary, and you get the upside, and he's going to be a good best ball archetype. Like I would be way more. My guess is that I will be more interested in taking a bunch of Golden on the what if I'm wrong case in best ball rather than taking a bunch of him in dynasty.
Yeah,
like I
agree.
I would rather take the shot in best ball and hope that I'm wrong and that I'm wrong in a way that's really exciting for that format, and then. You get paid off with a few big touchdowns in the fantasy playoffs.
I was reading Matt Harmon's profile on him, and he was kind of comparing him to Jordan Addison as far as I think the quality of route runner, not necessarily exactly the same play style, but if you get kind of an Addison level number 2 type of production out of this guy, like with CeeDee Lamb, that's pretty good where he's going in best ball right now. If that's the play. In Dynasty, I'm not that interested because I think the floor is pretty low. If the ceiling is like he's, you get a long-term, really strong number 2 type of, real life NFL wide receiver. But I mean, yeah, in best ball, you could argue he's like maybe a round or 2 underpriced. I mean, he could easily be a 5th round pick post draft, right?
Buddy, if he's the freaking 12th pick to the Cowboys,
higher than that. Yeah. 3-4 turn?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Davis's underdog screenshots will just be like 37% Chiefs, Omarion Hampton, 36% Cowboys, Matthew Golden.
Packers, Matthew Golden also would be interesting for sure.
No, God. The Packers are not spending a first round pick on a wide receiver. Their fans want them to do it too bad.
Yeah.
They would like accept like Nick Nash in the first round just to show that Goot is taking it seriously. But like, he's going to be like, we have Jack Bash at home or we have, I don't know, who's the most boring, who's like more boring than Igbuka? Who's like the more boring Igbuka?
Xavier Restrepo.
Oh my God. We didn't even talk about this man. Dude, there were people tweeting yesterday that the hand timers there had him in the 5s.
Ooh. Why run?
Do you think you right? Like what could he have been testing at that he thought it was worth it? Like he was hoping to get 4.68? Like what are we
just don't run.
On?
Just don't
We'll
run,
fill it in optimistically in our minds. He's probably 4.68.
Because it's like worse than could have possibly imagined, right? Like if he doesn't run, you'd be like, oh man, like, he must be a 4.6 guy.
Like Scadaboo is coming out and getting a resurgence right now.
Guy.
Like Scadaboo just is like, whatever the time is, you don't get to know it.
You'll never know.
You'll never know.
To my grave.
But once
Scatterboo, when he
the
gets in the
number,
NFL, he's gonna be digging that chip out, that GPS chip. He's like, no,
no, we're not
He's gonna
discovering
be-
my high end speed is
Dr.
13.2
Ragabi is
miles
pulling it
per
right out
hour.
of his head.
yeah.
Does it kill Restrepo?
Yes, he's
Yes,
undraftable now.
Yeah, he's
Like, you-
undraftable. He's undraftable.
You can say even like the most like trust the tape guys on my timeline, like Ray GQ, who's like a classic like trust the tape person. He's like on Twitter being like, bro, that shit's embarrassing. Like, and it's like he's correct. Like
Crutches tweeted.
There's only so much trust you can have in the tape when you run a 4.8. Like that is
One of
your
the
hit
guys
list is
from
Jarvis Landry and no one else.
Yeah, the 0.26 RAS. One of the guys from Pete's Discord.
There are
Crutches
some other
tweeted,
guys.
he ran
Juwan
a
Jennings was in the
4.6.
4.7s.
Yeah.
There's some dude like Stevie
But-
Johnson ran in the 4.7s.
Right. Juwan Jennings was in the 4.7s and Xavier Restrepo was not.
Some hand timers had him in like 4.77. He got okay. The
Yeah, well,
the
some had him in the
quickest hand
5
timers.
twos.
It's hand timers.
I wanna
Get it
say-
together,
I-
hand timers.
5.2 is so outrageous.
I want to say it was Trevor Sycama who tweeted that some people had him in the 5s. It might not have been
Oh,
Trevor, but
God.
someone said they had him in the 5s, which is just like, man, I might be able to go out and run a 5.5. You know what I'm
It's just
saying?
gutting.
Someone had the comp of him to Tristan Wirfs. They had like the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that too.
That's good.
I'm just picturing a screen where like they do a tunnel screen to Restrepo and Wirfs is out there blocking and Restrepo
And the guard-
can't
the guard-
catch him.
he gets chased down by a defensive end on a screen.
Oh,
Restrepo
like
technically ineligible
Grover
for our
Stewart is
game.
chasing him down from behind.
Yes.
yeah.
Ineligible
also,
for our game at ADP of 195.
wow.
Well, I'll tell you
too
what,
high.
Not
you're
for
gonna get
Too
not
high.
for long. You can take
Next
him
You
week.
need
next
to learn
week.
eligible, buddy.
Next week, I'm jumping on that.
That's hilarious.
He might not be an eligible wide receiver if he's going to convert to tackle, but he will be eligible for our game.
Yeah, points are points, Jacob. Points are points. Pat, you have a rookie in mind for this? I was going to go the veteran route.
Oh, I was gonna go. Let's see. I'll go Will Shipley.
Oh, Shipley chasing.
Oh,
Yeah, I think this is one of the backfields, right? Jacob said, who's not going to add anybody? The Eagles probably unlikely to add anybody. Now they could, but it'll be probably day 3.
They should.
Shipley's was an somewhat interesting prospect last year, and like although Barkley proved last year that he is absolutely elite, the situation is quite good. It's quite conducive to running back points. I think if you were to throw Shipley in there now with Gainwell gone, Gainwell's in Pittsburgh now, you could be looking at him turning in some really. I mean, I could outscore. Who did you took LaQuinn Allen? I might need one game in those 3 weeks from Will Shipley to
might see
cover
one
out.
carry.
Yeah, right. What are the odds?
Eagles added AJ Dillon. I'm not too concerned about that.
Gainwell isn't a bad idea here either, by the way, I think. But
Gainwell
all right. Yeah.
for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, the
Just-
new Jaylen Warren.
Not knowing which teams are going to stay away from running back in the draft makes this obviously a huge guess. I'm going to take Diami Brown for mine. Got paid in Jacksonville. You guys have said it today yourselves. You like the offense, kind of a slept on team, slept on player. Space has been cleared there. The money, better in best ball. So he'll be my first pick in last call. We're calling it Diami Brown.
Last call.
Last call for takes.
$10 million. Not
Right.
money.
That's the prize for winning this game.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can
That's
raise
how
that.
much
GoFundMe
Mr.
for the
Diami
Yeah,
got.
that's the hope.
It's a lot of
ADP
super
Chasers.
chats. Get ready, Tyler.
Yes, it is. Pat, what's on tap this week?
I just had the second part of my rookie running back profiles out this morning. So check that out. Covered Cam Scatterboo, Bashal Tootin, all those guys, Devin Neal, Dylan Sampson, RJ Harvey, bunch of the depth of this class in detail, talking their best ball and dynasty prospects, digging into the numbers and all that. So look for that. Michael Dubner Had an article out last week. I highly recommend looking at the anatomy of a rookie riser at quarterback. He's going to be rolling out the rest of the positions as well. Matt Irby's got an article coming out in the next couple days, and I'll have the rest of my rookie stuff. And I'll be streaming later this week. I'm going to do like a Friday stream, doing some drafts with the Sidekick, if you want to check that out. We'll see. Maybe do an episode of the podcast as well. We'll see.
All right. Davis, Jacob, anything to throw in?
I'm going to be streaming some members-only stuff on the channel this week because baseball is about to start, so we're just drafting some dingers and whatnot. And then I'm also going to have trying another new thing on the channel, just a bunch of YouTube shorts about these prospects this week. I was like looking at my data, and like 70% of the new viewers to my channel since January were shorts viewers. So trying to feed those
King
people.
Summer.
Shorts King Summer. Yeah. So seeing what we have there. So that's what I have coming for you. And I'm streaming tomorrow with Liam.
Jacob?
Well, first of all, I will likely not be on ADP Chasing for a couple of weeks because, believe it or not, I had pre-planned a trip to Portugal before getting brought on this show. So I'm heading on a flight.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have gone. Otherwise, I mean, no way.
Otherwise, otherwise, I wouldn't have gone. Yeah, clearly the priorities are right in order. But long plane ride is going to be the perfect opportunity to finalize a couple of articles. So get ready for big prospect dump for Dynasty content. I'm thinking on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then I will see you guys. I mean, you never know if I don't really know what the time difference works out to be, but consider me a maybe. If I have a free hour at some point and I'm sitting down, maybe I'll just hop on the stream. But
where are you going in Portugal?
I'll let you know. I'm landing in the Algarve, and then in Faro specifically, and then I'm going to Porto, and then I'm heading to the Azores.
Nice.
Wait, Pat, that wasn't
Porto's great.
I was guessing maybe you were asking that because the time zones are going to vary, sort of a follow-up to what time is going to be.
No.
You want to know where in Portugal based on what time?
I was just curious.
He wants to make sure I'm locked in.
I think it's +5. So
and what day are you going to be in Porto? Just put it in my phone.
I think it'd be a 3:00 Portugal time start on ADP Chasing if that happens to fit for you. I'll be doing my weekday show, WGR in Buffalo, on the Odyssey app. Sabres Senators pregame host tonight, Jacob, 6:00.
Nice.
If you want that. Huge Dylan Cousins revenge game. And I'll be out. Otherwise, I'll be out looking for overs on Matthew Golden's draft.
Underdog zone, Josh Norris having the revenge game tonight.
Yeah, injured when they traded for him. Will not play tonight for Buffalo. Otherwise, thank you guys. Enjoyed it, and we'll see everybody next week.